Welcome to Thursday at 4:30 Central Time. This is Zagging 101. This is the new fall series. Our mantra is pretty simple. While others out there are zigging, we zag. In case you don't know what a zag is, when you look at marketing, it's another way of looking at disruptive marketing. So while a lot of people are going this way, we want to be the zag, cut right off it and get noticed and be noticed for good things. And we're going to talk about that today. We're now in episode 2. We have 3 tips on how to create an effective social media strategy. And this couldn't be any more important as we head into the fall, as schools now have reopened. I'm one of the show's co-hosts, Guy Danhoff. You'll see that I actually work with MOSHAPE, Missouri Healthy Schools, and Shape America in a variety of social media roles. I also consult with the NFL. Actually, this past February, I did some work with Adam Schefter, streaming him live, as well as working with some of my sport management students and also doing that. I also have a book that came out last year, published by Human Kinetics, and I specifically wrote on digital marketing. So some of the things that I talk about come from that 3rd edition textbook, and I am a assistant professor of health and sports sciences at Missouri Baptist University in St. Louis, and I teach mainly on the business side of marketing, public communications, and things like that. Now I'd like to introduce my co-host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Krebs. I work with Missouri Coordinated School Health Coalition, so I'm their digital media consultant, as well as I just got a job here in August at Missouri Baptist University as a freshman counselor. And then I also coach soccer and softball. I played soccer since I was 3 and love sports and anything to do with sports. And I am a dog mom to the sweet little doggy over there named Nala. And I am coffee obsessed. So that is a little bit about me. And we are going to throw it back to Guy. Or actually, pop quiz. So the first person to answer this question and get it right in the chat will receive a $10 Starbucks gift card. So from last week, what was the mistake that could cost you not even 2 times, 3 times, but maybe 4 times of use if not executed? Now we need like that Jeopardy music or something.
Did someone answer?
Hey, Guy, you can't answer?
I didn't.
I think that was our very own Tom Lowry that answered.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh, Tom Lowry!
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Well, I have to make this announcement, guys. Okay, here it is. The official announcement press release will come out on September 1st. I can't keep the excitement to myself anymore. But this show we picked up our first sponsor. They're going to be sponsoring this show, the MOSHAPE Minute, and even our upcoming MOSHAPE virtual convention. And we're really excited. Those details will be coming out. Be checking for that. But we have some giveaways, so get used to giveaways in the future. You can win and learn at the same time. All right, let's dive in.
All right.
Okay, in case I know that we have a lot of new people, we want to welcome you guys to Zagging 101. And really, our mission is simple, guys. We exist to help professionals, mainly in the health and physical education world, but we also help with people that might be involved in athletics, as well as fitness, nutrition, things like that. And what we try to do is we try to help you develop your influence, your impact, and your advocacy using social media. This is why Zagging 101 exists.
So our quote of the day is the first rule of social media is that everything changes all the time. What won't change, though, is the community's desire to network. Guy, you want to dive a little bit deeper on
I
this?
really do, guys. I think all of us know that are on this webinar right now. The bottom line is most of us have started school. There's nothing normal about what we used to do. It is now the new normal. Social media is changing from the standpoint there are more people on social media than ever before in the history of these tools. On one level, it's great. We have audiences. On another level, if you're not equipped up, it's really difficult to get noticed and grab attention and start building your audience. Or as I like to say, do you have the right vibe for the tribe? And here's the one thing though, if you're not staying up with current best practices, here's the thing. believe it or not, what's not changing is your community's desire to continue to network and connect. That's why we're having this session today.
All right, with that, this is actually so important. So if you're taking notes, this is something I would definitely write down. So what problem do you solve for your audience? And actually, Guy's going to dive deeper on this part too.
Guys, the bottom line, I get asked this all the time in my consulting role, or even with students in my social and social media class. The starting point has to be, if you're going to have an account, especially corporately even, you want to address the question, what problem are you trying to solve for your audience? In other words, how are you going to add value to them? That is very key, because if you're not solving a problem to some degree, then why do you exist? Again, there's nothing wrong with having a social club. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with having a club that entertains. That's all good. But if you want to get into the work of advocacy, or if you work for a school, you know, we're trying to solve problems. And so whether you're a university, whether you're, you know, a state association, like we have several on the line right now, like our good friends there in North Carolina. The bottom line is that we've got to get solutions oriented. And to be honest with you, that was the big pivot for us at MOSHAPE as we pivoted heading into, obviously, once COVID hit. We got away from the convention only mindset to now truly solving as many problems realistically that we can moving forward.
So we are going to get into the meat of our Zagging 101. So 3 tips on how to create an effective social media strategy. So number 1, start with a single platform. I hear this a lot. I'm trying to keep up with my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook. We want to stop you right there. Okay, so we want you to truly focus on one platform and master that platform, grow your impact, become a master in that, and then we will work on expanding. Until you get momentum in that one platform, though, you will overwhelm yourself. And Guy, you want to kind of give some examples of this?
Well, I really do, to be honest with you guys. At for example, MOSHAPE or even Missouri Healthy Schools, guys, we really took a deep dive into Twitter so that we could build our influence, our impact, and our advocacy. That process has taken a few years. Now we certainly have added Facebook. I mean, we've had Facebook, but now we're working with it. And we're also now started working with Instagram as of last year. But we have really doubled down on this platform so that we could really leverage our influence. So the question that I have for you guys, and you can put this in the chat or in the comment box, what is your primary platform that you're going to focus on? Because the truth of the matter is, you're never going to get noticed and you're never going to grow to the level you want to until people know that you're a trusted resource. And that's why if you just stay in long enough, you're going to find that you can begin to build that influence. Then when you do, then to migrate to other platforms is going to be more of a natural progression. Just like we're doing with Missouri Healthy Schools and MOSHAPE, we're now have our next thing we're doing now that we've got, you know, Twitter influence, we're now moving into a strong YouTube strategy. So that's what we did. We started with a single platform and we never had better numbers than we've had in the last 5 months.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, number 2, so you have your platform and now you're going to do specialization. And another way of saying this is like specialized knowledge. So what's your niche? What is your passion that you are, that problem you are trying to solve, that your specialized master in? So like for Zagging 101, our specialization is to help individuals in the HPE world work social media. That is, we've narrowed it down with a platform and our perceived specialization. And Guy, do you want to kind of explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, and basically, guys, everyone knows that we're going to give you weekly tips, tricks, hacks, and like today, we're going to talk about strategy. That's what you can count on from our brand. That's our promise to you. And just like if you're a state association, it's the same thing. Like when you think of a brand like MOSHAPE, you want to start thinking about, okay, what are we known for? What's our specialized knowledge? Well, you know one thing, we're going to be advocates. You also know that we're going to provide resources, just like we did last Friday with the launch of a statewide collaboration. That was huge for us. It took, I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of people it took to put this thing together over 4 or 5 months. And yet when it launched, guys, inside of 30 hours, we had over 1,000 people download it. Just goes to show, again, we're serving the needs of our people. We're social listening. We're dialing in what people are wanting. So again, I can't say enough about the specialized knowledge. And so here's the other part of it, though. If you're going to build credibility, here it is. What results do you have that you can share with us on social media? Just like Jersey knows, you know, tomorrow we have a meeting with their state leaders, and we're going to be doing a deep dive on their analytics, because that's where we start. Before we can ever give any kind of strategy, anything, we are looking at current state. Where are we? Looking at the analytics. What's the data telling us so that we can pivot and move forward? The big mistake people make is they don't pay attention to the analytics. And I'm going to give a shout out to my good friend, Dr. Alan Means. He said something really profound a few weeks ago to me, is that he took our advice on repurposing content, and guess what he found with our MBU Timeline, which is our student association that puts out this content, this news for us. They doubled their impact. And all they did was repurpose posts that they already had. Guys, this stuff works. The state of Kentucky had an all-time record in the last 90 days by repurposing their content, among other things. But I can't stress that enough. There are very simple things that we want to teach you guys how to do. The real value here is that consistency, and that's what we're striving for.
Yeah, so now we have the platform. You figured out your specialized knowledge, the thing that you're going to dive deep in. And lastly, I love that there is like an arrow shooting at the bullseye, because I feel like if you are not doing any of these three, you're literally closing your eyes and just trying to hit the bullseye. But no, we are going to go and walk it to that middle with this last point of identifying your specific audience and value. And all I'm going to say about this is that's your ideal customer, and then listening to what they want so you can add value. And Guy, do you want to kind of finish this and wrap this part up?
Well, I do, because here's the thing. You have to ask the question, what does your audience want to watch? We did that. Tom Lowry, who won our gift card of all things, myself and Joey Martelli, Shape America guys, about 2.5 months ago, we did a session on social media on what's working today because of the pandemic. We asked the question, what do you guys want to see? Guess what you guys told us? And we did our first 4 episodes on it. You guys want to learn how to live stream. You want to learn about YouTube. You guys want to know what were the essentials part of creating content that gets shared, liked, retweeted, things like that. And then the most last one that we did was actually helping people develop shows, right? Developing content like we're doing on a weekly basis. And that was all based on what you guys told us. We weren't guessing. And the last thing I just want to say is, here's the question you have to ask. What is your audience going to find most valuable? Now I'm going to speak to our university friends for a second. And this also applies to high schools. Right now in the pandemic, I can tell you right now, the big questions are being asked as a parent. Give me the information and tell me you're back to school. Tell me about your COVID plan. Tell me about your new policies. How are you keeping the kids safe? How are they going to class? What's this going to look like? Just to give you an idea, just in the high schools and first in food services alone. Are you ready for this? I just found this out about a half hour ago from Lauren Beckman. Laura said there used to be one way kids would get food in school. Today, literally today, starting as last week, there's 5. Now, can you imagine if you could be communicating that through your social media channels? And again, look at what these schools are doing to solve a problem. That's why we have the most powerful tool at our disposal, is we have to be thinking, what do people find that's going to be valuable? And that's what we're doing. You can do that through social listening, because that's what we're doing. So with that, I want to give you guys the flip side, though, if you're not going to do the bullseye. Lauren, you want to pop that up? Guys, this is so true. This gets back to what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks about random acts of content. If you do random acts of content, here's where you're at. If you try to reach everyone, in the end of the day, you end up reaching no one. In other words, you can't be all things to all people. I like this expression. This has been said to us on Zagging 101 as well as MOSHAPE. I think what a lot of people appreciate what we've done in the last 5 months with our social media is we're staying in our lane. So is Missouri Healthy Schools. We're not going out on just jumping on things. We're doing things that make sense to what? Our mission, our vision, our goals, our values. That's what we're doing. Those are the metrics, or the KPIs, if you want to get tech talk, the key performance indicators that we want to use so that we do what? We can leverage what we're doing. And we're doing that because we know specifically who our audience and what they're expecting from us. And more importantly, the promise that we're going to deliver on a consistent basis. And that's what we're doing. So anyways, that's a great quote. I've seen it happen too many times to too many great brands.
True.
Okay, here we go, guys. We have another pop quiz. Here's another chance for winner chicken dinner. All right. If you guys remember back early, I said this, we read the quote. The first rule of social media is that everything changes all the time. However, but what doesn't change, according to Cami Hughes, is what? The first one to respond in the chat wins the $10 gift card.
Anna, keep us updated.
I have, okay, I have purpose,
Nope.
need to be a part of a community.
Winner, chicken dinner. Who got that?
Alan Mead.
Oh my gosh, his first time on the show, Dr. Means. Oh my gosh. If you don't want Starbucks, I'll get you a perk card, okay?
It's the first thing I've ever won. It's awesome.
Woohoo! Nice work. I wasn't participating in this one. I didn't feel like it would be a fair.
Well, of course not, unless you had Barrett participate. All right. So with that, congratulations, Dr. Means. Here we go. Guys, we have a very special guest. For some of you, she's no stranger to our profession whatsoever. We want to welcome Sarah G.H. She currently teaches at Clayton High School. She's in her 3rd year. She's been part of phys ed, health ed. I had the distinction of watching her win this award. She won the 2018 Shape America National Middle School PE Teacher of the Year. As you can see some of these other hashtags, and she can tell you a little bit about the Twitter handle that she started for phys ed, Agoji. I remember when she was doing the phys ed Chopped in 2019 in Tampa, and there's a few other things there. There's her Twitter at the very bottom. And last but not least, she was part of the social media squad that was providing these reports every day from the national convention. And her friend Lisa Smith, who happens to be the president of currently right now for Minnesota Shape, they would do the reports even at 2 in the morning. So I know a lot of you guys know who Spaker Spot are. Basically, these were the comedian versions of Spaker Spot before Spaker Spot. So with that, Sarah, welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that nice intro.
It's good to see you. We love the shades, by the way. You fit right in.
Thanks.
She got the tag. All right. So Sarah, I have the first question for you. And it is, what is something you wish you knew before starting with Twitter?
Okay, so I'm a pretty early adopter when it comes to Twitter. I joined Twitter in 2013 as a PE and health teacher, like going through that lens. And that was pretty early for our community. And so I guess the thing that I wish I had known prior to doing that is how the connections that I would form with other health and physical educators on Twitter would end up turning into real life social connections. And it's more than just going to a conference and popping into a session and recognizing someone from across the room. It's actually having this like deep, true friendship. Like Chris Walker popped in and I was super, super excited the second I saw him because Chris and I know each other really well and we see each other at conferences every once in a while. And it's always really great when we see each other in person. But also the fact that you form these relationships where like I've traveled with people, I am their roommate when we go to conferences, I've met their families, I know their kids. We talk on, texting, we hang out on Zoom, we go on trips together. So it's become so much more than just finding PD through Twitter. And I guess I wish I would have known that as I was going in.
Wow. Thank you. That was an amazing answer.
So Sarah, you know what, I have to ask the obvious question, me being a data guy, it's got to be a data question. So here's the question. How did you go from 0 to over 8,000, I'll say that again, 8,000 plus followers on Twitter. I mean, I get it in a lot of industries, but in the HPE community, that's like what we call the anomaly.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, right? Like, it's cool. I'm not in it for that by any means. I'm definitely in it for the collaboration. I do share a lot of content,
Right.
but I'm in it more so for what I can get back from the community, whether that's the social relationships, but also just the ideas that I can take back to my own students. Or, you know, you can throw out a question and you're guaranteed to get an answer. And so that's always really helpful. But I think to answer your question, part of it, again, goes back to the fact that I was an early adopter. And so those of us who got into it pretty early on, I don't know, just the way that we kind of approached everything, it like created this huge wave. And then there was like this second wave of people. And I could even argue that maybe we're on like our third wave now, maybe our fourth of more and more people kind of joining in and sharing content and interacting with people, not just lurking from the sidelines and kind of scrolling through their feeds, right? But they're actually engaging
Right.
with people in some way, right? I think also it goes back to one of the tips that you shared earlier, right? That perceived specialization.
Right.
So,
Correct.
within the community, I have some notoriety. You know, I'm known for being a National Teacher of the Year. And when I received that award, I was teaching middle school. I now teach high school. And so, you know, I have this perceived specialization with the middle school content. Now that people know that I'm in the health classroom, that I'm teaching high school PE, I get a little bit of notoriety from that. And then all the other things that I've been involved in, whether it's serving in committees for Shape America, you know, just stuff that I've brought to the community, right, through like Phys Ed Chopped, my really funny, like, you know, show that I do with Lisa, which is called, you know, It's Kinda Late.
Right.
Which is just really hysterical all the time. And then, but the biggest thing that I think I've brought back to the community is my work with our Physedagogy team.
Right.
So the Physedagogy team is not something that I started. It's something that I was asked to be a part of years ago. And we are an incredibly tight-knit team where when we originally started, our premise was to talk about best practices in physical education and kind of create a platform for that. And it eventually evolved into us hosting an online health and physical education conference.
Right.
We've hosted 7 of them. They are global. Some of them last for 3 hours. Some of them last for 24 hours. And yes, we do stay awake for the whole thing. And that was so that we could have things during the correct time zones for teachers around the world. And we don't have the exact analytics guy, like I know that you're really into, right?
Right.
Because in order to have your analytics, you also have to be able to access them.
Correct.
And certain platforms don't make that very accessible.
Right.
And you also need funding for some of those. But we do know that thousands of
Right.
PE teachers have been involved in our conferences. And we do know that we've had people from approximately 50 countries participate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess like all of that added together, right, somehow then turns into my
Right.
following on Twitter. Yeah.
Right. But the cool part though is you just said it, because you had that specialized knowledge and grew and became a resource for people, because I know you share all the time, all these resources become available, and then you increased your advocacy by doing the work you just described. That is the formula. I mean, you're living proof of that formula, and that's how you get to, well, like you said, and I know that, you know, 8,000 wouldn't matter if it's 8,000 or 5,000. The point is that you're adding value to people. You're trying to solve problems, and you're seen as a person of great value. And Sarah, I'm just so glad that you shared that for us. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, Sarah. So with our objective of the day is to really teach people about strategies. What specific strategies did you use to make such an impact at the national and state level?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, because when I approached Twitter from when I joined it in 2013 to how I approach it now, I don't really think of them as strategies, but I guess like if you were to really break down my stuff, I guess there are some in there. So my origin story is a little bit different than the other health and physical educators that I know from the St. Louis area. So that's where I teach. I did not go to college in Missouri. I went to the University of Kansas. I'm a big time Jayhawk. And so when I was in school, Going to the state conference in Missouri was not something that I was taught to do, right? Because I was at school in Kansas. And our involvement with the Kansas State Association was still pretty minimal at the time as college students. And so then when I came back to St. Louis and started my teaching career, I also didn't go to the state conference because it just wasn't really on my radar. I knew it existed. It just wasn't really what I was doing. So I was kind of just being a teacher, right? And then I joined Twitter, and I had been to the national convention before. I'd been to Central District before. But the really big event that I went to after joining social media is that I went up to Winnipeg and I went to the PHE Canada National Conference. And it was super awesome because within seconds, I met people that I had just met on Twitter, and we are still really close friends to this day. And so that kind of just turned into me continuing to seek out professional development opportunities. So I traveled to a lot of state conferences to attend them or present at them. I've presented at the national level at both the PE Institute and at Shape America. I have presented at MOSHAPE, and I've been an attendee at MOSHAPE several times. So just my impact is a little bit different. I kind of like bypassed the state route and went, in other directions, I guess. And the other thing too is I think I'm pretty consistent in how I connect with the community. So I share resources. I share things that are working well for me. I'm not the teacher that shares videos or photographs of what's going on in my gym or in my classroom. I share documents. I share links to resources or tools that might help people. And then I also think that it's pretty key that I don't really think of myself as a brand. But when you look at my tweets, I kind of have a style to them.
Right.
And it's the same way that I write. So like everything's grammatically correct. It looks the right way. I know what hashtags to use. I know when to use them. I kind of know how to play the game. But with that being said, I don't feel like I'm playing a game. I feel like I'm just being Sarah. So the Sarah that you see on Twitter is Sarah in real life. It's the same person.
That's an awesome answer. Wow.
Thanks.
Sarah, some people know that I do sport broadcasting, and this is terrible. That answer right there, I do this thing on a segment on the sports show where I have a microphone. That's a mic drop.
Right thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
You're telling me that it's better than like Nuke LaLoosh in Bull Durham.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say there. Yes. Well, thank you for that answer. And you guys just sit tight. We're going to go live Q&A with Sarah in just a couple of minutes. So Lauren, you want to get us going? All right.
So for this next minute or so, can you guys take a few minutes and write your key takeaway of today's Zagging 101 in the chat box? And as you're doing that, guys, going to kind of wrap us up. But please, it helps us so much with our data, and we love hearing from you guys and hearing what you've learned. So with that.
Yep. So guys, while you guys are doing that, next week, we are actually going to do a dive on data analytics. Yes, I'm going to actually show them. We're going to show you Twitter. We'll show you Facebook, what has insights. We'll show you a little bit on Instagram. Our special guest, for those who are in Missouri, all the way from Jersey, is going to be Stephanie Lauren, as she's going to come in and be our guest speaker. She was also someone who was part of our pre-conference a year ago, as she works for Ply Yoga, but she's on the national scene, and she's just brings a lot of energy. She's a person who brings lots of value in terms of, providing solutions, a lot of assistance to certainly physical educators and people in the fitness world. So with that kind of being said, what we're going to do now is the chat's still live. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the broadcast so that we can open up the screens.